Good evening, Mayor McGrady, council members, and delegates. My name's Bonnie Prater. I live in Bel Air, Maryland, and I agree with the people that have come up to speak before me who are opposed to the proposed ordinance prohibiting the occupancy of the homeless in tents. About 7 years ago, I began leading a ministry at my church, Central Christian, in Bel Air, serving a free meal to the homeless and others in need in Harford County. And as a result of that ministry, I was able to begin attending the Harford Roundtable meetings, where I met many others in the community, government agencies, nonprofits, a lot of the faith-based community. That's where I met Pastor Melvin Taylor. And it was clear to me that we could do so much more in our county to help our homeless neighbors. So I became a part of the steering committee of the Harford County Hope for the Homeless Alliance. And while the long-term vision of the Alliance is for a year-round shelter for men and women who will never get into any of the already existing shelters in Harford County due to capacity limits or drug and alcohol use, we also recognized the more immediate need for an emergency rotating shelter during the winter months. This past winter, with God's help and the help of Councilman Curtis Beulah, District F, and also Director of Housing and Development, Lem Parrish, we were able to organize an emergency rotating shelter for 13 weeks with 14 churches as host sites and many other churches and organizations who helped with transportation, food, and donations. So I'd like to just give you a quick summary of the emergency rotating shelter to show what can happen when our homeless neighbors are given hope by being shown the care and respect they deserve as human beings. 88 men and women were served during the 13 weeks of the emergency rotating shelter. By the way, many of them have a child or children residing temporarily with other family members in our county. I'm sure a lot of them are part of the over 400 children in our Harford County Public Schools. While they were provided with a safe, warm place to sleep, 3 meals a day, a hot shower twice a week, some love, and some guidance. And we referred them to services, which I would like to make a correction to something that was said earlier about all the homeless services being here in Aberdeen. That is not true. The homeless services are spread out all over the county, which does make it very difficult for someone with no transportation to get to. Out of those 88 homeless men and women who were served in the emergency rotating shelter, 3 ended up going into Welcome 1, 4 went into rehab for drug or alcohol abuse, and it's my understanding that 3 of those 4 will go into some kind of temporary housing right out of rehab. 14 of our guests were able to find jobs during the 13-week shelter. 10 of them gave their life to Christ that we know of. 10 more reconnected, I would say is the best way to word it, with family that they had been removed from for years and went back to live with them. 9 others were housed through Upper Bay Counseling that we partnered with, and Answered Prayers Ministry that we partnered with, and 7 others were able to find some kind of housing on their own. So they were given hope for a place to live, they were given financial hope with jobs, they were given spiritual hope, and they were given healing hope. Besides the 4 that went into rehab, we had multiple guests that we needed to send to the emergency rooms. 3 of those situations, we were told later that they were life and death situations. One was a diabetic insulin shock, and one woman had pneumonia and the flu simultaneously. She had a fever of 106. Another woman had such bad pneumonia, she ended up in the hospital for 13 days. So, that being said, I do believe that if we are to call ourselves a community of people...
1 minute. You got 1 minute, Ms. Prater.
Thank you. I do believe that if we are to call ourselves a community of people, then we need to learn how we can work together in unity to bring hope to these homeless and work together to establish some kind of a framework whereby they know that we care about them, and just that little bit of giving someone hope can go so far. So in closing, I do hope that you will all consider attending the next roundtable meeting here in this chambers on April 18th at 1 p.m. And I also would like to add your email addresses to our contact list for the Harford County Hope for the Homeless Alliance.
Do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Prater.